The Equestrian Broadcasting System and its affiliates presents Brooke the Book Course and the Bon Bon Theatre Company on the air in the Adventures of Shercolt Holmes by Sir Cantor Conan Doyle.
It was some years after I had started living with Shercolt Holmes, and some months after I had learned of his addiction to the recreational drug Hasbrite, that our next story begins. I had suffered and worried many sleepless nights to get my friend to admit his problem and seek help. He would not. I regret to say that this next adventure in my friend's life only deepened my concern for his health. I returned home after seeing a patient of mine, only to find Holmes in an appointment with a new client.
I appreciate you waiting with me, Mr. Root. I'm sure my friend and colleague, Dr. Trotson, will be arriving home any moment.
Oh, no worries, Mr. Holmes. I've got all the time in the world. Holmes, you wouldn't believe the day I've had. Ah, Holmes, I didn't realize you had company.
No, Trotson, please stay. This is Mr. Ginger Root. Mr. Root, this is Dr. Trotson, official doctor of Her Majesty Princess Celestia.
Oh, you'll be? I had no idea. Well, I hate to toot my own horn, but since we're here, toot toot.
Trotson, I would love for you to hear the details of this case. I can't say for sure if it is a criminal case, but it is certainly bizarre.
Certainly, Holmes, if Mr. Root doesn't mind. Sure, I don't mind repeating the story.
First, I want to see what you've learned from my methods of investigation and deduction. What can you tell me about our new friend?
Mr. Root, you must have a job as a writer.
Excellent work, Trotson.
How on Tartarus did you know that? Your left wing is considerably more well-defined and muscular than your right. If it was from flying, the muscles would be even.
Mr. Root is also a veteran like yourself, Trotson.
How do you know that?
The classical crew-cut tale of the Canterlot Legion.
Wow, and here I thought you both were clever. I see now there's nothing to it.
I'm beginning to think, Trotson, that if we keep explaining our investigatory skills to our clients, we shall lose our reputation.
Everything becomes commonplace once it's explained, I suppose.
You are progressing well, though, Trotson. Excellent work. Now please, Mr. Root, tell us your story again.
It starts with this newspaper ad. To the Red Mane Society. Following the requests left in the final will and testament of Carrot Stick, her position will be made available for public application. This job is purely a nominal position and will pay 10 bits a week. In accordance with the Red Mane Society rules, any stallion or mare within the Canterlot limits may apply for the position as long as they have a red tail and mane, which may not be darker than standard maroon. Applies Sunday at 9 a.m. I'm a bit confused, Holmes. What is the Red Mane Society? I'm sure you know, Red Mane ponies have encountered some, stereotyping.
Yes, of course. I'm very sorry to hear that something like that still goes on.
Yes, well, I've been very blessed. I've never encountered the problem myself. But from what I've heard, this Red Mane Society is something that seeks to remedy that problem by giving red-maned ponies a leg up. It is meaningless busy work, but you receive an extra few bits a week, which can make all the difference. Sounds very kind. I own a small restaurant in Big Bit Square. Recently, business has been quite good, so I brought on a new waiter. He was willing to work for tips because he's eager to learn the restaurant business.
What is this young waiter's name?
Spudflow, but he's not truly young either. It's hard to say for sure his age.
He works only for tips, even though this is the off-season for the casino.
Yes, I was very lucky to find him. Mind you, he has his faults. He is a photography fanatic, and he's always taking pictures around the shop. I let him use the cider cellar as a dark room to develop them. But it's a really small thing to complain about, since it never interferes with his work. Anyway, he was the one who pointed out the advertisement to me. "Boust," he says, "I wish I was red-maned." I asked why. He responds that the Red Mane Society is looking for new members. Well, I told him I'd never heard of it. He explained a bit about it, and we shut up the shop Sunday and went over. There were dozens of red-maned ponies of every race and build and shade. But after some hours of waiting, I got in. The head of the society was there, Mr. Crimson, I think it was. He asked me a few questions about my family history, magically tested my hair to be sure it was real, and announced to the line outside that the job had been filled. Well, I was shocked, as you can imagine.
Tell us about the work.
Well, every Saturday at 2 o'clock, I was required to come in to work. I would work all day, or at least until Mr. Crimson would come in to tell me that I could leave.
And what was the work you were doing?
I was copying the Encyclopedia Equinica, starting from the beginning in the letter A section and copying the whole thing right through. Or at least I would have.
Copying the Encyclopedia Equinica.
I say, that's a strange job. Understand, I thought it was odd too, but every Friday I was paid, as promised. It was only a few hours on a Saturday, and I was being paid far more than the time was worth. I bought new horseshoes for the first time in years. I fixed up the shop. It was good money to have around. And the work was so interesting. Abacus, abbey, architecture, adulteration, anatomy, apes, aqueducts. The situation is strange, I'll admit, but I fail to see the mystery.
Oh, it's coming.
Today, being Saturday, I came to work, but my office was gone. The entire building was abandoned. I asked the office owners if they'd seen Mr. Crimson, but they said the stallion who'd been renting the place went by a different name and had paid in advance. The luxurious job was gone in an instant. All those words I'll never learn. What was the name? Perhaps that will tell us something.
I appreciate your eagerness, Trotson. He would have used an alias, however, for renting the office as well. Even if it was a different name, this was no fool.
I went to the forwarding address, but it was the address of a factory for making artificial unicorn horns. No, I don't see what's so funny.
I apologize, Mr. Root.
I don't think you have any real reason to be angry, Mr. Root. You've been very well paid, and you've acquired a great knowledge of the letter A.
Oh, good one.
Yes, but what was the reason behind this prank, or whatever it was?
This waiter of yours, how long has he been with you?
3 months, give or take.
How did he come?
I posted an ad for a new waiter.
Was he the only one who applied?
No, I had a dozen others.
And how did you choose him?
He would work for tips. Yes, what's wrong with that? I'm not a rich stallion. I can't afford much in the way of labour. If he wants to work for such small amounts of money, it's not my fault.
Can you describe him for me?
Oh, he's about as tall as me. Orange fur and a pink mane, a scar on his left cheek. Other than this, he looks very kind, and you'd never see him making trouble for anybody.
Have his ears been pierced?
Holmes, what have you got against ponies with pierced ears?
Mr. Root, please, have they?
Oh, funny you should ask. Yes, they have.
Interesting. I think I have what I need from you. I'll take the case, Mr. Root.
First, bless you, Mr. Holmes.
If I need anything from you, will you be at your shop?
Actually, my waiter, Spudflow, suggested I spend the weekend with me sister. I thought it was a nice idea, so I'll be in this new settlement, Boneyville, with her until Monday.
Perfect. I believe by Monday I should have some answers for you.
What a strange thing.
Yet there are graver things hanging in the balance than it first appears.
What shall we do?
Well, this is a 3-pipe problem, Trotson. I'll need some time to smoke and think. Perhaps a map, too.
My friend sat in his chair and smoked his pipe most of the afternoon. After a long time, as I was almost drifting off to sleep, he folded up his map and jumped from his seat.
Come on, Trotson. Let's go. The game is a hoof. Here we are, Trotson.
Canterlot Casino.
Yes, I have a theory that our assistance may be required here.
Should I be taking down notes for you?
No. No notebooks or quills. It is just possible we are being observed. No, we are merely guests coming in for a nice, light game. Do you play cards?
I used to. I haven't since, well, for some time.
I shall rely on your keen military eye and ears for the unusual. There are 2 main things I would have you watch out for. First, where is the vault located? Second, if there are any unusual behaviors from the staff.
Holmes and I observed Spudflow, the waiter, servicing the customers at a small restaurant with ease. He seemed quite at home in his work. I would have never suspected him of any wrongdoing myself. Holmes insisted on going inside, eating. I, however, did as I was told and went into the casino. The vault was easy enough to see. It stood on the wall, facing the street where the restaurant sat. Mission accomplished, and now to have some fun. I moved from one table to the next, playing hand after hand of Lost Pegasus Hold'em and Crackerjack. I still had it. The employees behaved normally, I noted. There was nothing else out of place. Besides, I was focusing on my winning streak. I still had it. Until I didn't. Before long, I had spent every bit I had. I had forgotten this feeling, but I could not deny it to myself. I had had a gambling issue in the past, which I had moved past because gambling was not open to me in the army. However, in recent months, I had been going to the races. Now, with cards in my hooves and my rent money gone, I realized I slipped back into a lifestyle I'd spent years regretting. It took nothing, not even any willpower. I had destroyed many, many years on the wagon with one bet. One bet, which turned into a dozen. Looking up at the clock, I saw that it had been several hours. I nearly sprinted, sweating bullets and almost breaking my hoof on a stray ashtray when I reached the restaurant across the street. Holmes was occupying himself by tapping the stones on the street with his hoof and smoking a pipe.
Trotson! I'm glad to see you made it. Did you observe anything strange? Tell me as we walk.
Everything seemed fairly normal, Holmes. The vault is on the wall facing the street.
Very good. Except, Trotson, you were in there for several hours. Yet you saw nothing unusual?
No, nothing. But I was being very thorough. Searched the place from top to bottom.
I'm sure you did, old chap. Good job. Where would I be without my smart cookie?
What did you find out about Spudflow?
He has dust all over his hoofs, Trotson. Stone dust.
And what does that mean?
It means we can relax for tonight. Tomorrow is Sunday, correct? We shall come back tomorrow after midday with some friends.
Really? We have nothing more to do here?
No, now we can have some fun. I hear Faraday is playing at Luna Hall. Would you care to go?
Sounds like a perfect way to spend an evening, Holmes. Holmes and I watched the concerto that night, with no worry about any red mane society. Holmes sat, enjoying the concert with his eyes closed the whole time, and I could tell his whirring brain had found some peace, as it always did for a while when he'd sunk his teeth into a good mystery. I knew also that soon the boredom and monotony would return, and Holmes would need to indulge in Hasbrought again to calm his mind from its constant state of agitation. But for now, he was happy. It was a memory I would treasure in later years, after Holmes had passed away. But at that moment, I was hardly thinking about what a precious and beautiful moment it was in our friendship, or how his happiness probably meant that whatever villain we were seeking to defeat was probably going to have a very bad day tomorrow. Instead, rather than sitting here and enjoying the music and each other's company, I was only thinking of how easily my old habit had snuck up on me, and how easily I had failed to notice the signs. The races and the Pegasus rallies were where I'd bet so much. Because I had won, I hadn't noticed the grip of my addiction closing in. It felt fun in those moments. Now, knowing that if I failed to seek help, I may end up in legal trouble as I had when I was a teenager, scared me. I resolved to tell Holmes the truth and seek some help that next week.
Holmes, looks like we are working together again. I got your letter this morning and immediately came down to the casino. I did just as you said and stationed 4 police officers by the door of the restaurant.
Inspector Booksmart, it's always a pleasure to see you. Of course you remember Dr. Trotson.
How's it going, Fawn?
Oh, a little tired, but no complaints, Bookie.
I had not realized you two were so chummy.
Sure, well...
You what?
It's a little embarrassing, Holmes.
Oh dear. I feel very out of the loop here. I thought friends were supposed to be honest with each other. Every book on friendship says...
Mr. Holmes, I hate to break up this little drama, but I'm a busy stallion.
Yes, of course. You must be Merriweather, the casino owner and operator.
Hey, yes, I am, and I do have other things to do than hang around all day. Inspector Booksmart told me that there was going to be a robbery at my casino, which is impossible at any rate. But here I am, giving you all the benefit of a doubt, and you stand around arguing.
Oh, you're going to be a fun one.
What was that?
Nothing. Please, Mr. Weather. if you would be so kind as to lead us into the vault.
I feel ridiculous. The walls and ceiling of this vault are magically enchanted. There's only 2 keys. One is mine and the other is with the manager.
Mr. Weather, I would invite you to have some patience and to please speak a little more quietly. Now, please tell us, is there something you keep in this vault? Something that would have arrived only in the past few months? Something that some pony would want to steal?
No, not really.
Think, Mr. Merriweather.
It's confidential. I haven't told any pony, and I'm certainly not telling an amateur detective.
Hey, Holmes is the best detective I know. The Canterlot police regularly ask him for his help. And may I remind you, it's your skin we are trying to save here.
Fine! It's the poetry cafe downtown. Me and Books won't go and read out poetry. It's embarrassing, but there it is.
Thank you for your honesty, dear fellow, but now is really not the time.
Fine. We opened a new line of credit for the casino payouts, and we now keep 3 times the amount of bits on the property. We currently keep 90,000 bits in this vault on a daily basis. That's the only change, and such a treasure would probably justify murder. What is that sound?
Quiet.
Sounds like a clock.
Quiet, please.
What is that mysterious ticking noise?
Shush! Pardon me, gents. I must have taken a wrong turn at St. Tabitha Street.
Hey now! No excuses. You are clearly breaking in.
What? No, I'm not.
Bookie, don't argue with him. Just cuff him.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. But how would any pony know the floor wasn't enchanted? How would anyone have the ability to tunnel like this?
It's simple. One of your guards was paid to give information to Spudflow's superiors. After that, Spudflow convinced his boss, Ginger Root, to join the Red Mane Society as a way of getting him out of the restaurant for hours at a time. During the times he was there, Spud, you would work down below while you said you were developing pictures. You and several accomplices tunneled across the street and directly under this safe over a 3-month period. Have I missed anything, Mr. Spudflow, or should I call you Don Clay?
Don Clay? The forger we've been looking for months?
How did you know? For one thing, Spudflow is the most ridiculous fake name I have ever heard. Second, I have my own secret police I call the Baker Street Irregulars, and they informed me that you had been sighted in the area.
What a case.
Holmes, there's one thing I don't understand.
I don't understand either. You call him Fawn, you should be able to call me Shercolt or even Colty.
Well, we can talk about that, but I meant about this case.
Oh, yes, continue.
This isn't Don Clay's MO at all. He's kind of stupid. No offense.
None taken. He didn't, did you, Clay? You had a mastermind working behind you, some pony willing to split the funds from this robbery with you if you could only do the hard part. Some pony capable of setting up such an ingenious ruse as the fake society for red-maned ponies, paying so generously that only a fool would pass it up.
The Red Mane Society was fake, of course. It was just there to get Ginger Root out of the restaurant long enough to complete the tunnel.
You're a very smart stallion, Mr. Holmes. It's a shame you'll end up dying for it if you keep shoving your muzzle in where it doesn't belong. It was Professor Syndicate, wasn't it? I never even heard the name. Well, Mr. Clay, perhaps you would know her better by her pseudonym. Professor Mariotti. Holmes, you're too dangerous to be left alive.
Stop that, you.
Who is Professor Mariotti?
She's a genius. A madmare. She runs the greatest organized crime ring in Equestria, perhaps in the whole of Equus. So genius that no evidence has ever been found to connect her to a crime at all. She never gets her hooves dirty, yet half of all the evil in Equestria has its origins in her. She always uses surrogates like this fool. Some ponies are loyal to a fault. But Clay, you may keep her secret if you like, but Syndicate may as well know that I will find her out. I will get evidence eventually, and when I do, I shall destroy her criminal empire. It is my mission.
The casino paid Holmes his regular fee for services rendered, and upon Ginger Root's return from Ponyville, we had a little bit of closing advice for him. Always pay a man what he's worth. However, some questions remained for me. Holmes, I must admit, you've made a very good go at this case, but there are still some elements I'm unclear on.
Like what, Trotson?
Like how you knew for sure that he would try to rob the casino.
You may remember, when we caught back up after you investigated the casino, and I investigated the restaurant, I was tapping on the road hard with my hoof. I was trying to hear if the tunnel was going in front of the restaurant or behind it. You see, the Bank of Equestria, Canterlot branch, was directly behind it. However, the tunnel only stretched in front, and therefore they were drilling into the casino safe.
But how did you know they would attempt the robbery this past Sunday?
Because the Red Mane Society closed, putting our friend Gingerroot out of the job on a Saturday. Saturday is the perfect day for it. The casino is closed on Sundays, and they would have the entire night before and the morning of to finish their work.
And I suppose Clay developing his photos in the basement is why you thought he was digging. The stone dust on his hooves would have been from moving rocks.
Yes, Trotson, and no pony would work for tips at a restaurant this drab, let alone go to a previously failing restaurant to learn the food industry business. Plus, when I heard from Gingerroot that his waiter had a scar on his face and pierced ears, I knew it was Don Clay without a doubt.
You've reasoned it all out beautifully, Holmes. Well, I'm about to head down to see what Mrs. Button is making for dinner.
I will stay here, but let me know what she's making.
As I began leaving, I saw Holmes glance toward the bottle of Hasbrite on his desk. I knew now was the moment to tell him. Actually, Holmes, first, I have to tell you something.
What is wrong, my dear friend?
I have an addiction. I didn't spend hours investigating the casino. I started playing and I couldn't stop. I used to have a problem with it, but recently, I can't control it. I lost my half of the rent money this month. I'm sorry I lied to you, and I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner.
Oh, my dear Trotson, thank you for sharing with me. How can I help you?
I'd like you to keep my money bag in your desk and keep it locked. It's shameful to have to ask, but...
There's no shame at all, Trotson. I can do that for you, and carry it for you when we go out.
I'm going to find a good Addicts Anonymous meeting as well. I'd like for you to come too.
Why would I do that?
Hasbrite, Holmes. I know you are dependent on it. If you would just admit it.
Oh, I've been thinking about that. I'm a big enough stallion that I can admit when I am wrong, Trotson. Yes, I'm dependent, and it was a lie when I said otherwise. You're right. I am an addict.
Oh, Holmes, it's wonderful to hear you acknowledge it. Now you have admitted you have a problem.
It's not a problem.
What?
Yes, it's an addiction. But it's not a problem. It's just something I have to deal with. Something I have to see out by myself.
Why won't you let me help you?
Hasbrite was my only friend before you. Ever since I was young. I'm just not sure. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Holmes!
Good night, Trotson.
Holmes, please. That night, it all seemed hopeless, as if my friend would be consumed by the drug that controlled him. I had nightmares for weeks of him dying from an overdose. It was terrifying to me to think my best friend may never be willing to even try to overcome his addiction. Little did I know that Holmes would overcome it. He was stronger than he thought, and it would be the magic of friendship that pulled him through. Shortly after the mystery of the Red Mane Society, we began our longest journey together. Professor Moriarty, ma'am, the Red Mane Society plan has failed.
Let me guess. Shercolt Holmes.
I'm sorry, ma'am. The casino robbery. Clay has been caught.
This is the fourth time he has vexed me.
Shall we take care of him?
No, Holmes intrigues me. However, if he keeps getting in my way, I shall have no choice but to eliminate him. For now, let's just keep a close eye on him. And his little doctor friend.